Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today is the first of a three-part series where I'll be showing you guys how to build the ultimate Create Train system. In the first episode, I'll be showing you guys how to actually build the train cars and make sure that they're all connected together to form your train. The second episode, I'll show you guys how to actually build your railways and make sure that your train is powered. In the third episode, I'll show you guys how to build train networks and make sure that your base is connected up so that way your items go where they're supposed to. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you guys how to actually build a train in the Create mod. So to get started with your train, you're going to need the items in this chest. You need a cart assembler, a lever, and a wrench to actually build your train. You'll need a chassis and a slime ball to build the bulk of it. You'll need a minecart and a coupling to actually connect it up. Then additionally, you could have the option of a minecart furnace and some fuel if that's how you're going to be powering your system. So to actually build the train, it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is take these cart assemblers and place them down. So when you place down your cart assemblers, these are going to work on their own. So if I go ahead and just place a cart in here and place a block on top, when I power this cart assembler, it's going to basically assemble the cart. And the best way to see that your cart is assembled is just look at the block, and if you have some kind of Wayla installed, so for example I'm using the one probe, it won't show me the linear chassis. So now when I push the cart, you'll see that the chassis is going to move with the cart. I just kind of push this along, and it'll actually kind of just go along on my system. Now the cart assembler has a few different options on its own. It has a default, which is always face towards motion, has pause actors while rotating, and it has lock rotation. So always face towards motion is what you're going to want to use if you want it to be facing the way your track's going. If you want something that's always going to go in the same direction, you want a lock rotation. And then pause actors while rotating. If as it's rotating, you want to make sure that the stuff isn't actually changing until it's done, that's the option you want to use there. So for example, always face towards motion. Let's just start with that. If I go ahead and place a minecart with furnace in here and power that up and give it some coal to make it go, you'll see that the block actually turns to face the direction the cart's moving. Then I can just hit the cart to break it and get my block back. Now if I were to change the settings to pause actors while rotating, power this up, give it some fuel, you'll see it'll look pretty much the same. This one is only going to really matter if you have kind of like a larger assembly, so we're not going to really see a change here. Get my coal back in my inventory. And then the last one, which is lock rotation, what this will do is when my cart is assembled and I send it off, you'll see that our block is always going to face that direction. Now these aren't going to matter too much for our use case because we're making a train. So to actually make a train, you actually want to use two cart assemblers. That's why I placed two down here. And then to connect them up, you're just going to put one cart under each assembler. And then as long as they're connected up with blocks, either using chassis or using slime, when you power one of the assemblers, they'll be basically assembled together. So if I just push this back one, you'll see that the whole thing moves together. And the settings of your cart assembler don't actually matter here. The settings only realistically matter when you're building a single cart contraption. And you'll see as I kind of push it around this corner, see the whole thing kind of turns really smoothly as it goes along. Now to connect up multiple cars together, what you can do is you can just place down multiple assemblers. You can do multiple assemblers or just kind of move your carts along. I'm going to basically assemble two little train cars, and I can connect them together using the minecart coupling. Now if those are connected, what I can do is if I move this back one, I'll see the whole kind of train moves. Now it's just an example. I'm going to throw a furnace cart and hook that up. We'll use this as our engine. So now if I power this furnace minecart, you'll see our whole assembly kind of moves together and we've made a train. So to actually move items in and out of your train, you need a few different items. So for fluids, you need portable fluid interfaces and a tank on your train. For items, you need a portable storage interface and a chest on your train. And for entities, you need a magenta seat. I guess not a magenta seat, but you need a seat of any color. They come in all 16 different colors. Now to show you guys actually hooking these up, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put my linear chassis here. I'm going to put some slime on it. Now what the slime does is essentially makes this sticky. So now when I place my fluid interface here and my fluid tank, these are actually connected up. And to see that, all I have to do is I need to hold my wrench over the linear chassis and it'll show me everything it connects to. So now when you see when I make this train, it only actually connects the one tank. To fix that, what I could do is I could build the train off of here, and you'll see it actually connect everything together. And so now when I send this off, this will all be a little train with a little tank on it. Now I can do the exact same thing over here with a chest. So I'm basically just going to put the slime here, put our item interface, which I place with a lever. So I can just grab my item interface, place that in the middle, place the chest at the end. And this doesn't have to be in this exact configuration. You can pretty much do it however you want. As long as there's an interface and a storage place on your cart, it'll function correctly. So now if I were to just take some coal and power my system, you'll see when it gets to a portable storage interface on the map, it'll actually pump items into our cart. So what it's doing right now is it's taking items from this chest, pumping it into the portable storage interface and into our cart. So if I just take the rest of those diamonds out, because we don't need to take all of them, you'll see it'll continue on. And it's the exact same deal with fluids. So you can see our fluids are coming from this tank into our car. And as soon as that's full up, it'll continue going. So as you can see here, when the portable storage interface meets up with another one where it's pumping out of the portable storage interface, we'll take our items from the cart into our chest. And it'll do the exact same thing with the fluids. So I think we'll have to hook up another cart. Oh, unless it has enough momentum. It's like not quite. We'll just give it a little push here. Which is kind of tough because you actually have collision with the other blocks. So I'm actually colliding with this, which isn't allowing me to push the minecart as fast as I might want. But there you go. You can see that it hooks up to the fluid interface and pumps out into our fluid tank. And that's how you would basically connect up your system to move either items or fluids around your map. So to show off the use of the seats, all I did is I replaced the interfaces with some seats. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to spawn some mobs on top of these seats. You'll see they instantly just kind of sit down and get locked to those seats. They'll actually stay locked to those seats even when the cart is assembled. And what's cool about these is players can actually sit in here too. So I can just sit in here, power my minecart, and we can go on a little trip. I can take these villagers wherever I want. I can add lots of seats if I want to take lots of mobs around, or go on a little adventure with all my friends. So in this next part of the video, I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks about how to actually put together your train cars and make a really nice looking train. That's kind of starting off with this train chassis I put together. Now the whole point of this train chassis is to avoid the use of superglue. And that's for two reasons. The first one, which I'm sure you've experienced if you tried to build a train before, is it just saves a ton of time. What the chassis allow you to do is just place blocks down and kind of build up your train car without having to put the glue in between. This will all already be connected because of my chassis. And that just saves a lot of time to begin with. The second really big reason that I recommend using these is for lag. If you plan to ever be stopping your train completely and basically reassembling it, what you're going to want to do, especially if you have lots of chests on your train that you need to access, every time you place it down, each one of those superglues turns into its own entity. So if you have a cart assembly with a ton of superglue, basically just a big cart, that'll cause a lot of lag in your world every time you place down that train. So that's the reason you'd want to use the chassis over the superglue. Now the reason I chose this shape for the frame in particular is the radial chassis allow us a lot more freedom than the vertical ones. So if I were to just grab myself a linear chassis and place it down, what this allows me to do is connect blocks straight. If I put a block here, it would not connect. If I put a block here, it would not connect. Basically, all I have is the straight line going out. Now with the radial chassis, what they allow us to do is allow us to connect blocks up like this. Because the whole point of a radial chassis is to work basically as a windmill. So they got to allow us to make some really funky shapes, and I can actually go pretty crazy with this. The only caveat is that I can't go off to the side. If I go off to the side, it won't connect. But that's solved by just having a whole line of chassis. So now if I connect that up, that'll connect up. And if I want to look at my train and make sure everything's connected, all you have to do is hold Control, and it'll kind of show you everything that's connected. And just make sure that everything has the little white bounding box, and you'll be good to go. Now, the reason that we have this shape in the front and the back is to allow us to build the back and the front walls. The reason we need that is because chassis don't allow us to go to the side. So this does. So this allows us to kind of come up here and through the back and build our like kind of side walls, and then that is all actually when you connect it up all automatically just like that. Now, one cool thing that you could do is, for this design, I've just kind of built it on the ground, which is going to be the easiest to lay your rails. But if you want to make your thing look really nice, what you can actually lay the cart underground. So the way I put this together is I just lowered the ground by 2, placed my minecart and assembler down here with a chassis above, and that's just glued here with a glass pane to our whole chassis assembly. And now when I send this off, basically as long as I have my tunnel here with my rail, I can actually like decorate up here with my kind of block built rail and make it look really nice, as well as still having our carts in their track. So the reason I went with this size train in particular is because 5 wide is kind of the way you want to go. It scales pretty well to the players and allows you enough room inside for decoration and whatever you want. So if I come in here, you'll see that I got some seats in this one with some lamps. Pretty basic, but you could decorate this with paintings and signs and trapdoors and all kinds of stuff to make it look really nice. You could definitely go longer with these carts, but I really wouldn't recommend going wider, because if you go wider, then you'd go taller and longer, and it kind of just really scales up your cart a little too much. So I really find that 5 wide is kind of the best option for size. And then for wheels, what I did is I put the shaft here with the connector and then a valve at the end. I think the valve looks like an awesome little wheel. It lines up perfectly with slabs. So if you want to use slabs for your actual rail, it doesn't look quite nice straight on like this, but from the side it actually looks pretty nice as it kind of travels over those slabs. It looks like the cart's actually kind of riding on those rails. So this one is just kind of for moving mobs or players around. That's why it's got all the seats. This next cart I made is a fluid tanker. So it's got a whole bunch of these big fluid tanks with a portable fluid interface. So that way it can actually pump fluids into this cart and out of this cart as it goes past your different locations. And I also built a little storage box cart here with a portable storage interface and a whole bunch of chests inside. Now all these carts will be down in the description for you to use, as well as the 2 chassis, so feel free to download those and use them as you want. The last one I have over here is the train engine. Now the train engine has a few really neat things going on with it. First is that we're using flywheels as the rear wheels. These, in my opinion, look really good. They're going to be the best thing you can kind of use for the rear wheels, and yeah, it ends up looking pretty cool. The second really cool thing is that we're using campfires to show smoke. Doesn't that look cool? So what we can actually do is we can place campfires in our assembly. So if I just kind of go inside the train here, go up top, you'll see we have a campfire here. And what'll happen is campfires will continue emitting smoke even when on a cart assembly. So you can actually use them to look at smoke for your train, and as this thing moves, the smoke trails will kind of like bend and look like the train's moving, give a little bit more depth and a little bit more life to your builds. And I think they really just add a whole lot to the game, and it's definitely the #1 thing to take your train to the next level. So now that we have our trains built, I'm going to show you how you could take the schematics I've uploaded or create your own schematics to actually place your trains in your world, especially if you want to duplicate multiple cars of the same type on your train. So to do this, you'll need a schematic cannon, schematic table, gunpowder, an empty schematic, and a book. Now the book is optional, but I would highly recommend it because it'll basically tell you exactly what you need to collect resource-wise. So the first thing you need to do is come over to the schematic table. You're going to take your empty schematic and place it inside your schematic table. Then you're going to come up here and look at your available schematics. Now I've only got one uploaded right now, but if you had multiple, you could just use your scroll wheel to select the one you want. If you are downloading my schematics that you use, just click this open folder button, That'll open up a folder, drop the schematic in there, and you'll be able to pull it up here. I'm just going to hit this check mark. You'll see it'll upload the schematic into your item, and you'll essentially have the schematic to place. So I'm just going to kind of throw it down here. Now you get this little outline. This isn't actually placed yet. You still have to use a cannon, or if you're in creative, you could just place it here if you wanted. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use Alt to go through different selections. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it to the proper direction. And then I'm going to go to move XC and hold Control and kind of scroll on here to position it correctly. So now I've got it positioned. I'm just going to scroll over to the check mark. And if I was in creative, I would just right click and it would print it. Now if I was in survival, what I'd have to do is put it into the schematic cannon with some gunpowder. So now that we have that in here, we can hit play. It'll say ready, we can hit play again, and right away we're already missing an item because we don't have any items in here. Now to figure out what items we need, we can take a book, place it in here, and we'll get a materials checklist. Now this material checklist will actually show us everything we need to collect. I've already done that in that chest here, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy our chest over here, and let's see, it'll start building right away. Now if you wanted to, you could put the materials checklist back in here, and it'll print it out, and it'll basically check off everything you've already collected. So because I've collected everything, it'll all just instantly be checked off. So we're going to just kind of watch the cannon go and build our cart automatically. And with that ding, our train cart is built. So now that our train cart is built, all we got to do is hook it up to the rest of our train. Now there's a few different ways you can do that. You could build your train car here, build another one here, build another one here, build another one here, activate them all and connect it. Or what I've opted to do in this case is to move it into location. There's pros and cons to either way. The reason I'm doing it this way is because that's way we want to move our schematic cannon, our schematic, or our items. We can just kind of keep everything in this little area and build up our carts right here. Now one thing you'll notice that I did do is I did actually kind of dig out this little area. Now the reason for that is that our chassis is connected up here to our shaft and our gray valve. And if a block was connected here, when I tried to activate it, it would connect through here and down into the ground and pull that with it. We don't want to do that. So all I did is I just kind of dug this out so that way when we actually build our assembly, it'll basically take the cart and only the cart. So I went ahead and hooked up a little lever here. It looks like we're a little off center than what I planned, but that'll work with it. What we gotta do is move our lever over, activate it. Now to move it into position, there's a few different ways you could do it. You could either use a powered rail to kind of move it where you want it, but I found the easiest way to do it is take a minecart and a cart coupling and place your minecart here and couple it to the front of your train. Oops, sorry, I have to go a little bit further with the cart so that it doesn't freak out. But basically, you're going to go here and here, connect that up. Now it's connected up, what I can do is I can just kind of push that minecart to push our train into position. Looks like our coupling's freaking out a little bit, but it's still connected up where it should be, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep pushing our little cart into place. I found if you just hold shift and walk, it kind of goes at a pretty decent speed. You don't ever outrun it. If you're a little more ballsy, I suppose you could kind of like stand up into the cart and push it. Just kind of get it into position. Now as you're getting close, you might just kind of want to stop, see how close it gets, and looks like we're good there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hook up our passenger car to our engine, and our train is starting to look pretty good. Alright, so all I did was I went ahead and placed 2 more of these passenger cars to make a little tiny train. I mean, realistically, you gotta place a lot of these if you want a realistic looking train, but I think this will do for now on our little track we got set up. So to get this started, I'm just gonna grab my minecart, couple this up to the front, hop in. Or it's not hop in. It's something you could do. You could hop in and just kind of move, but go real slow. So we'll just get out and push. And we'll just kind of push it. Oh, looks like I'm missing a rail. We'll fix that real quick. Just kind of push this until it hits the powered rails. So we might have ran out, but is it going to be enough? Might not make it. Okay. Just a little more distance on here. Sometimes you'll see the coupling stick around. That's just a visual glitch. It's not actually there, but and there we go. Our train is off. So you can see we just got our control rails here, making sure that it goes in the one direction, and it'll just kind of go around this little track. You can see we've got some little hills and some little curves for it to go around. As you can see, it's not going to look perfect, but we have a working train in Minecraft. How cool is that? Just want to say thank you guys for watching. The next episode we'll be going over how to build your rails, make them look nice, kind of fix some of these issues you'll see in here with this little test rail where they're kind of colliding into each other and the angles look weird. So definitely stay tuned for that if you're interested to see it as soon as it comes out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit like for more Create content just like this. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.